This Week in 40K.
Welcome to This Week in 40K, your one-stop shop, 1 hour. What happened this week? Competitive 40K, the things we need to know. Billy, you're wearing a weird thing on your head. How's it going?
It's going wonderfully. It is Halloween, so happy Halloween to you and to all of our listeners and viewers and anyone listening to this or watching this later. It was a fun Halloween day, I'm sure. I have a witch's hat on my head. I have my chick magnet costume on myself. I am doing wonderfully. How are you?
Well, this was a great weekend.
Oh,
really just a good weekend. What?
Say more.
Well, I played 2 different games of 40K that were fun. I watched the Seahawks win an incredibly close football game. I won an incredibly close fantasy game that came down to the last several minutes of a game of the kind of main time slot yesterday. Billy won his fantasy game. And on top of all of this, the 49ers lost. So all in all, it was a really good weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a pretty good assessment, Billy?
Mm-hmm.
You know, as awful as that is, how many jokes do you think he's heard?
Oh,
like if we asked him, like, what's the top 5? I bet he's got 5 puns that he's heard a million times in his life having that last name.
I am sure for those who are not familiar, the quarterback of my football team, the San Francisco 49ers, is a man named Brock Purdy. Purdy sounds like pretty. It leads to some very easy punning. He was pretty good for a pretty long time, and he's been pretty bad for the last 3 weeks. I gave Colin a longer answer than he expected when he asked me why my team was doing the way it was doing.
I think it was a fantastic answer.
I have thoughts.
It was really well done. I'll summarize it very short, just for the people that might like football. Sure. Billy's opinion is that Brock Purdy is a good enough quarterback if you surround him with incredibly high-end tools. Yes. But he has weaknesses that hides. And if you take away some of those tools, you can expose those weaknesses, which makes the thing kind of unravel. How'd I do, Billy?
Excellently. Couldn't have said it. Summarized it better myself. That said, if we want to talk about happy things, my fantasy football team is outscoring the league by an average of 20 points a week. So yes. That brings me joy.
Yes, you have definitely demonstrated that you know more about fantasy football than the rest of us. That is clearly that plus luck.
I just got lucky with my draft. In terms of 40K, I have not played any in the past week. After taking an entire day off to play in a tournament, tried to reinvest back into the family. That said, I have a game coming up this Wednesday and a spicy Black Templar list that I'm enjoying, and I finally own a Land Raider. It is not put together, but I have played this game for nigh on to 30 years. I've never owned a Land Raider.
How hard was it to find?
It was a challenge, but I got one. It has all of the weapon options for the sides, so it will be a wide variety of different things, and I'm looking forward to moving 15 inches before Helbrecht and Sword Bros charge.
Why 15 inches?
12 inches of movement, 3 inches of get out, and charge.
Does the Land Raider move 12? Am I that sleepy?
I
thought it moved 10.
We're going to do it live. I could be wrong.
I've been playing with it for like 20 games, so now I'm wondering just how silly I've been being.
It's movement 12.
Well, there you go. Not mine. Mine's slow. Something stuck in the tracks, perhaps. Mine's very old, so maybe that's the problem. Mine's almost 30 years old. Maybe it just doesn't move at the speed that it once did.
Arcanland builds them better.
Have you just had a rule wrong for years? Have you had that?
Years, no, but something of mine definitely did move slow. One of my Eldar things moved slower for an edition.
Yeah. I played in 8th edition. I think we figured out it was 8 tournaments without anyone pointing out that my list was illegal.
That's fine.
And the reason my list was illegal is that I had given the sergeants of my guardsmen squads las guns, because I didn't understand at that time why I would ever give them a chainsword and a pistol instead. And it
Okay.
turns out at that time, you could not give them war gear. They had to have a chain sword and a pistol. Maybe you could give them war gear on top of that, but they couldn't have a las gun. And no one had noticed. I had simply been shooting the sergeant's las gun as a las rifle rather than a las pistol for like 8 tournaments, and no one said anything.
Oh my gosh, 1 extra strength 3 AP dash 1 damage shot. You
I know.
terrible.
From each squad, Billy. Let's be clear. I
You
wasn't
probably
shooting
did an
just once. I was
aggregate of
shooting
1
each of
extra
multiple
wound
times.
over 8 tournaments.
Yeah, it's really funny. We just had no idea. No one knew anything. No one said anything. Finally, one of my opponents said, "Well, that guy's got to have a pistol and a weapon." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" So, anyway.
Yeah, this game is complicated enough, and especially when you get into war gear on units that are optional, it's the social contract. Just be a good person. No one, very, very, very few people are intentionally angle shooting that one.
Yeah. Well, guys, we have a slow week. There's not a lot going on. The tournaments we have are mostly very small. So I'm starting a new job tomorrow, so I'm kind of focused on that.
Yeah, let's take a moment. That's the real happy news of this last week. Colin got over that hump.
I am a big fan of being able to feed my family, and the chances of me doing that have gone up significantly in the past week. The percentage chance that we don't starve to death really changed in the past 7 days. So very excited about that. So we're just going to talk for a while. If you guys have any silly things you want us to talk about, please feel free. And with that, we'll get into the news. The news, as they say.
Our top story.
Well, Billy?
The closest we have to a top story is actually a pretty big deal for those of us here in the US. It is the Champions Cup, which is something that I will admit I've had a hard time actually finding enough information to feel like I'm talking intelligently about this one. So anyone, whether co-host or in the comments who knows more, fill me in or give me a link. But it is a team event that, from what I can tell, was instigated by FLG, but partnering with basically all of the big teams in the US and across the pond, it looks like it, because I'm seeing Vanguard Tactics as a listed thing here. I think Dice Hammer might be across the pond as well.
And they reached out to me, and I said we'd come and we'd support it, and somehow we don't get a logo. And I didn't know there was a logo opportunity, and I'm kind of bummed now that we could have had a best in tabletop. Like he came to me, I talked to Kicker about it, like we agreed we'd come and that we'd support it.
Okay, well, if you have firsthand knowledge on this, please feel free to jump in at any time. But these will be
you're talking about the 8-person team tournament, right?
Correct.
Okay, so there's a group of people that are advancing the team tournament. What's the right word? They are pushing the goodness down the road for us and helping team tournaments expand and become more successful. And they talked about it. And they agreed that there needed to be a giant tournament that wasn't ATC, and they wanted to do an 8-person team tournament because that's where all the strategy is. Now, there are already 11 teams that said they're going to come, so that's 88 people right there, and we're going to come. If you guys know the TNG guys, I think that OG and TNG should combine to go to the tournament. That's what I think, but it's up to the incredibly better skilled and more often tournament going TNG guys to make that decision, not for me. It is an 8v8 team tournament, and it's going to be in Southern California, I believe, or is it in Vegas?
Yes,
Southern California. Yeah. So that'll be just incredible. If you haven't done a team tournament before, it's the best way to play 40K. We've talked about that a lot on the network, so maybe I don't go into as much detail as normal, but the summary is you get to go to a tournament, you get to hang with your friends and work towards the same goal. You don't have to play against your friends. You get to play whatever army you're most excited about typically, and you don't have to play, and you get to play meaningful 40K the whole weekend, no matter how many games you lose. Mm-hmm. And I think that, and it also minimizes the negative impact of the meta. So it's just an incredible time if you can get together. That I know that that's a lot of people, but if you can get them together, I think you'll have just an absolutely fantastic time. So yes, good top story, Billy.
Yeah. And just, team tournaments in the US, we've had fewer opportunities. I think, Europe, obviously just access to WTC is better and they have done more of them. So having this honestly on the West Coast is nice for those of us who live here because ATC is a real challenge to get to from the West Coast.
We decided to put it in a city that doesn't have a major airport. Oh, okay, great.
Yeah. Well,
for me to go to ATC, I have to spend like $1,300 to fly into Chattanooga, or I have to fly to Atlanta and then drive 2 hours. That's how I get to ATC.
Yeah. Whereas this one will most likely be in and around San Diego, and the advantage of that is it's wonderful there all year round.
Yep, every day.
Yeah, San Diego is basically this perfect city that no one in San Diego talks about because they don't want more people showing up. But it's kind of wonderful. If you don't mind it being a little.
Lewis Black does a great bit about it where he says the easiest job in the country is the weatherman on TV in San Diego. How's the weather today, Colin? It's going to be nice. Great. Yeah. Back to you.
So that's exciting. I anticipate more information to come, but it will be covered by all of your favorite US content creators because everyone is signed up and a part of it. More to come on that.
That's right.
The only other bit of newness from this past week, we got a new Necron Lord model yesterday that actually is quite spicy. They've really figured out how to do like the negative space and the using effects to get more three-dimensionality into the model. It's like hovering on its tessellated stuff. And they previewed a rule for it, which basically, and this is actually an interesting rule. It advances without advancing. So you roll the dice to see how far you move, but you still count as taking a normal move. And that opens up a lot of interesting things that can happen. I'm just curious to see how that works. Now, on the one hand, it could be problematic because, a lot of their rules depend on doing a thing. And this is doing a thing under the capital letter rule of it. Doing it without that opens up problems, but it also opens up a lot of design space. And I'm curious to see if that's the direction that they go. Plus the model is spiffy. As far as I'm aware, do we know whether it's Necrons or AdMech that's next? Have they said the order?
We do know, and I don't remember.
Okay, well, I would guess that it's Necrons because we just saw a Necron model.
That would make sense.
Yeah. So that's what's new. I think, both the meta and GW was looking forward to Halloween this weekend and getting their costumes in order. And that just takes a lot of effort, as you can tell by this wonderful tiny witch hat I have on my head. So just not a lot of newness.
Witch, please. Okay. Here we go.
What's winning?
I won 2 games of 40K this weekend. I played a game of the Dark Angels focused Vanguard list for Space Marines, which has the Deathwing Knights and a bunch of Inceptors is typically, and then of course the Dev Centurions that are so incredible in Vanguard. So I played that into our friend Josh Bagwell's he's very well accomplished with this.
Big bugs.
Yeah, but I can't remember what detachment it is. So he's got the 2 Norm emissaries, and he basically moves them to objectives and hangs out on them with OC-15 and then wins the game. He has a lot of other big bugs. He plays with like 3 Maleceptors and Exocrine, a bunch of other stuff. And I always underestimate how good that list is. He beat Lennon with it at Charity Hammer. He beat Lucas with it at the tournament here 2 weeks ago. It is just good. And we ended up tying. So that was really, really fun. I didn't like the Dark Angels Focus Vanguard list, which was the main thing I wanted to see out of that game. So I got that. I immediately saw why I don't think it's as good as I think that the best Marine list, if it's not Gladius. So I think Gladius is still good. So leaving Gladius alone as its own known quantity, I think that the best thing is either going to be Calgar-focused Vanguard or Calgar-focused Fire. I'm playing Fire. Hank is playing Vanguard. Lennon's playing everything because he's Lennon. And we're just kind of trying to figure out what we think is best. I have not, we're going to see some of that this weekend from the tournaments, but in general, there's no consensus so far on what the best Marine list is that I've seen. But it might be Iron Hands, which is not one of the lists that I'm sorry. I meant to say, what I'm talking about for best list ignores the fact that Iron Hands is amazing. I'm just accepting that the Dreadnought Dance Party is incredibly good, and saying that other than that, here's the two things that I think are best. I haven't played with or against the Dreadnought Dance Party, so I didn't want to rank it where I think it goes. So.
Yeah, we'll be talking about one of them coming up, and the irony is that probably the best Dreadnought Dance Party is Space Wolves. So.
Oh, great. Is Bjorn in the list?
Bjorn and Murderfang.
Oh, man. Okay, well, then we got to get going here, because we got to talk about that.
Yeah.
All right, so first up, we're going to talk about the All-Stars Hellstorms Major. Oh, sorry, excuse me. Super All-Stars. Hellstorms Major in England. 94 people, 6 rounds. The top 2 did a 7th round to determine the winner. Here we go. It was won by Alex Petford, a man who's won many tournaments in the past. He decided to really, really set the meta on fire, and he took Eldar.
Yeah.
There was some sarcasm there. This particular Eldar list is one of the ones that has Fugan in it. It also has a Troop Master. He decided that he would take a whole bunch of characters. Autark Wayleaper with the Phoenix Gem. That bro's 140 points, Billy. When you give him the Phoenix Gem, that's so many points.
So, yeah, it's a lot of utility, but yeah.
He's dope, don't get me wrong. Farseer, Fugan, Spirit Seer with Fate's Messenger, the Incarn, and then a Troop Master, which was surprising. He's got a Starweaver for his Troop Master to jump inside of, and then 2 Night Spinners, a unit of Shadow Specters, a unit of troops, actually, and then 2 units of 5 Warriors, and a unit of 10 Wraith Guards. So this is an incredibly standard Eldar list, but he snuck in a Troop Master, 5 troops, and a Starweaver into his list, which probably gives him some pretty good extra utility that other Eldar lists don't see. Don't you think, Billy?
Yeah. I have not been exploring Eldar as much this edition just because the direction of the power is not the fun that I have with Eldar. But if I had been, I would have been snowflaking and shoving way more clowns into the list than anyone else.
Well, that final round 7 game was an Eldar Emir. So Josh Roberts got 2nd place, another very accomplished 40K player. I think they're both on Team UK, but I could be wrong. Autark Wayleaper, again with the Phoenix Gem, Farseer, Spirit Seer, and then he's got double Avatar. So Avatar of Cain and the Incarn. And then the rest of his list is very simple. Excuse me. 10 Wraith Guard, 3 Night Spinners, Rangers, Swooping Hawks. End of list.
Yep.
So let's
Avatars eat up like what 650, 700 points. So
I think 700. Yeah, I think they're both in the 300s at this point.
Yeah. And
3rd place. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Billy. What you got?
No, I was just gonna say, and the triple Night Spinner is I get to have fun. You don't get to have fun, but I get to have fun.
Right. I'm going to have fun, but you're not going to have fun. Exactly. That's exactly the MO of that army. 3rd place. 3rd place is the one and only. There might be more than one of him, actually. Christopher Langton, who brought the Necrons, which is kind of fun because we haven't seen Necrons doing really well at a giant tournament, I don't believe. He's got a Catan of the Nightbringer and a Catan of the Void Dragon. He's got a Lord with the Hypermaterial Ablator, Orican the Diviner, and a Transcendent Catan. He's got a unit of 5 Immortal Warriors. Then, of course, the Reanimator for 105 points. Why wouldn't you? Scarabs for 40 points. Why wouldn't you? Crypto Thralls for 60 points. Why wouldn't you? And then 3 Locust Heavy Destroyers, another 3 Locust Heavy Destroyers, and 2x3 Tomb Blades. So lots of mission in here. mixed with the Unkillable Warrior block and a bunch of heavy destroyers, and then, of course, the very difficult to kill Catons. Fourth place is Matt Gallagher, who is from Team Forg, which I enjoy. Forg. There's a baseball player in the World Series whose last name is Phaaddt, and it's pronounced Fad. And I really enjoy that. And my favorite sports radio show, every once in a while, will use it as an expletive, fat. And I'm sorry, it's thought, not fat, thought. Really enjoy. Okay, on we go. Matt Gallagher's name is way less silly than that. He brought himself some Space Marines. They're Ultramarines. They're the Gladius Task Force. He's got an Apothe Biologus with fire discipline. I read that, and I can tell myself there's going to be 6 aggressors with bolters farther down this list.
Mm-hmm.
Librarian and Phobos armor. Lieutenant with combi weapon. That's the lone op dude, for those that don't know.
Yep.
Marnius Calgar and Uriel Ventress. He's got a unit of aggressors to hang with Marnius. He's got a Ballistus Dreadnought, because they're silly amazing at 140 points.
Mm-hmm.
3 Eradicators, good at 95 points. 2x3 Plasma Inceptors, an absolutely incredible unit. Good shooting, can do the mission, can drop 3 to 4 inches away from someone. Really, really incredible. Unit of Incursors, unit of Infiltrators, and then 3 Redemptors and a Scout unit.
3 Redemptors.
And he went with Macroplasma. Yeah, Macroplasma across the board there. So really not what I would have expected from the 4th place Space Marine list, but yeah. Why does it say GTF after the Space Marine list and the thing?
Gladius Task Force.
Oh, okay. I came up with several other things that it meant, but fine.
No.
Since this is the largest tournament of the weekend, I'll just share that James Webster got 5th with Eldari. Charles Gould 6th with Leagues of Votan. Let's actually look at that and see if it's the 30 Terminators.
There's a decent amount of Votan this week, just across the board.
Yeah, they're pretty cheap, and they do hit pretty hard. This looks like it is not 30 Terminators, so that's interesting. This is 25. Completely different. Okay. And then, let's see. Dom Maidlow had Chaos Space Marines. And just really quickly, 3 units of Obliterators, 3 units of Warp Talons. This is MSU Chaos, which is a thing that's very popular right now.
Mm-hmm.
And then another Eldari list that we're not going to look at, but that was Callum Byers, and then Mikiak Shamir with Eldari, and finally Conrad Bartkowitz with Eldari. Unfortunately, that's a lot of Eldari. But other than that, pretty interesting finish. Next up, we're going to talk about the 51-person Oktoberfest in Ipswich, Australia, a city that...
Not Oktoberfest, Colin. Not Oktoberfest.
I said Oktoberfest.
Okay. Oktoberfest.
I'm familiar with the pun. I've seen it before. It was won by Ben Warrior, which makes sense. If you're gonna name your kid Ben Warrior, I guess he could have been Max Warrior. I'm going to mute for a moment. I shall be back.
Okay. And Max Warrior would have been appropriate due to the geographic location in which he takes place. Here's something for Colin to come back to. What is, in his opinion, and it's just an opinion, so it's allowed to be bad, the best Mad Max movie?
Okay. I like Thunderdome, but I actually really enjoyed Fury Road. I was going to say
Fury Road.
It's a really excellent movie. I don't know that if I got the vibe from it that the Mel Gibson movies have. Like, I don't know that that's the vibe that I got watching it. It's kind of like some of the Daniel Craig Bond movies are very entertaining,
but don't feel Bondy.
But as someone who's been watching those movies with his dad his entire life, I feel like the Daniel Craig Bond movies are not Bond movies. Like, especially Casino Royale, does not vibe with the other Bond movies at all. It's a completely different thing where they decided Bond needed to be darker. and he stops being charming and he stops being sexist, a chauvinist, which he needed to do. And I just didn't care for it. I also think that the new Star Trek movies aren't Star Trek movies. They're action movies with lasers and explosions. I just feel like a lot of these series that I've been really enjoying have made a harsh turn, Billy.
I agree with the Star Trek. I actually would say that Casino Royale is the most Bondy of the Daniel Craig Bond movies, and that the rest of them progressively get darker. For me, Fury Road, not close, and I think that I agree with you. It has a different sensibility, but I think some of that is just moving it forward in time and ability to upscale the effects.
And then there's a newer one than that I don't think I've seen.
Fury Road's the last one.
They're making another one.
Yeah, they've been making Furiosa since Fury Road came out.
Okay.
And it's just been a challenge, is my understanding.
That always means it's going to be great when it comes out.
I think Fury Road took them like 30 years to get done, and I would put it as one of the top movies of this century. But Ian Harris, Road Warrior, respect. That's a perfectly fair and good take.
What's the movie? I want to hear this from everybody. Leave this in the comments. What's the movie that you went to the movie theater to see that has the strongest memory in your head? If I ask you that, what's the biggest memory that comes to your mind of seeing a movie in the movie theater?
Mine is going to piss off so many people, and it's not a good answer, but it's the first answer that I have. It is what?
Phantom Menace?
No. This is like going to really upset a lot of people. This specific segment of the populace, this is going to be an incredibly hot take. The Holdo maneuver in The Last Jedi, where I saw it in like this giant theater, it really just was an oh my god moment. So
that's what the spaceships?
Yeah, where the spaceship does the jump and takes out the big one, which is like one of probably the most controversial moments in all of Star Wars. But when I saw it, I was just like, that's freaking amazing. I love it.
Yeah, it is pretty amazing. I think I was 12, and my dad told me that there was this movie that was going to be really amazing, and we needed to go see it. And I hadn't really seen the trailers, and we went on opening night, and it was Jurassic Park.
Oh.
And I saw Jurassic Park in a very, very high quality theater with my dad at 12 years old. And we waited for hours in line. And when the jump parts in that movie are very memorable to me. The first time we saw the giant door, and the first time when the T-Rex is on the car. And like, what's funny about that is that my wife's favorite movie is Jurassic Park. So years later, and my wife likes any movie with a giant monster in it. It's like, we just watched Meg 2. It was awful. Like, she likes any movie with a giant monster. So we've watched the Jurassic movies quite a lot. And so anyways, that was my big one. But I also waited in line to see Phantom Menace on opening night, which was fun because we were in line with super nerds because we watched the midnight showing.
Oh yeah.
And that was also a very memorable experience because we sang songs with the people on the line. Anyways, moving on. Okay,
wait,
back to 40K.
One second. Ian Harris, if you are old enough to have seen the original Transformers cartoon movie in the theaters, mad respect, and you've got the touch, you've got the power.
I like that in that movie there's a random F-bomb. I love that about that movie.
Is there
when the spaceship is crashing, one of them literally drops an F-bomb.
Oh, I'll have to rewatch it.
Or maybe it's the S word. It's one of them. I can't remember now. But there's a full-on like R-rated curse word like just snuck into that movie, and I don't understand why. It's just hilarious to me. I went back and watched, because we got a lot of tournaments to talk about. I'll share this story. I went back and watched the original Transformers cartoon, the TV show one, not the movie. And the budget of it is it's something I didn't remember. There are scenes where they didn't bother coloring all of the fighter jets that are Decepticons. And like Starscream isn't even different. There's just like the 5 of them walking with Megatron, and they're all the same color. And there's a fantastic scene where they reused a Transformers conversation scene, and Bumblebee has been kidnapped, and Optimus Prime goes, "Where's Bumblebee?" And he's standing in the group looking at him in the scene. So this is just in the first few episodes. If you guys want to hoot, I didn't watch that much before I couldn't handle it anymore. But Bumblebee standing there looking at him when he's like, "Where's Bumblebee?" was my favorite. Okay, here we go.
Oktoberfest.
Yes, Transformers are great. However, they haven't made a Transformers movie I like. Okay, that's just the sentence. They haven't made a Transformers movie I like. They're all garbage. Every single one of them is a bad movie. Some of them are entertaining at times. They are all terrible movies. Okay, here we go. Oktoberfest, Ben Warrior with Adbeck?
18 Breachers?
Adbeck? With Adbeck? Okay, with Adbeck. This army is called Breachers.
Okay.
And it has a Tech Priest Dominus. It has actually 2 of those. And then 2 Tech Priest Manipuluses. And then a Techno Archaeologist. Sorry, 2 of those as well. I'm getting tired here. 1, 2, 3 units of 4 units of 5 units. 5 units of Skitarii Vanguard, 10 each. All of them have an arquebus, it looks like. 3 units of Scorpius Dune Riders. 3x6 Cataphren Breachers, and a unit of 3 Doggies, Cerberus Raiders. Well, that is an AdMech list. My understanding is that AdMech is terrible. I have not played against AdMech in 10th edition, nor do I know anything about AdMech in 10th edition. So congrats to our the hero of the people, Ben Warrior.
I know the infantry got their save improved by 1 in the latest data slate, and Breachers have a damage profile that can do damage to people,
Yes.
unlike the rest of the army.
Yes. Next up is Chaos Space Marines, and this was played by David Truman, who got 3rd place. I'm sorry, Wayne Russell, who got 2nd place. I got ahead of myself there. And he had Chaos Space Marines. This is the Abaddon and Terminator version of the list. Okay. So it's got, he only has Abaddon and 5 Terminators, though, which is an interesting way to do it. I would imagine that's very hideable, and he can kind of jump it out and do a thing rather than having this brick that people are trying to kill. 2 Chaos Lords, Abaddon, Chaos Rhino, 5 Terminators. Then he's got the 2 units of Chosen that can be in the Rhino. 2 Forge Fiends, 2 units of 2 Obliterators, 2 units of Raptors, a unit of Warp Talons, and 2 Nurglings. We are 2 units of Nurglings. We're really beginning to see what's good for Chaos. They're getting to kind of the this is the data sheets that are good situation, I think. Billy, don't you think?
Yeah. There's maybe 200 to 300 points of flex, but you're starting to see there are a few different archetypes, and they're rising to the top.
Right. 4th place was Jacob Warren, and he took the Gene Stealer cult. What?
You skipped 3rd place.
Jesus, I'm all over the place today. Apologize. And apologize for just saying Jesus.
You are all over the place. You went from 2nd place to 4th place, and now back to 3rd place. So many places.
First I went 1st to 3rd.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is Wayne Russell in 2nd place with Blood Angels in a Iron Storm Spearhead.
Okay.
Sure. Why not? Lieutenant with Combi Weapon. Okay. Tech Marine with the Target Augury Web. And then Tech Marine with the Adept of the Homicide. One of those is everybody gets to move and advance and shoot. And one of those is ignore a damage on something within 6 once per battle round. 2 Ballistus Dreadnoughts, 3 Gladiator Lancers, a Gladiator Reaper. Don't see that very often. That's the one with the tons of shots. And then 3 Redemptors and 2 units. Wait, hold on. 3 units of Scouts and 2 units of Inquisitorial Henchmen. So this army stands on objectives while a whole bunch of very angry vehicles move around and shoot at you and are difficult to kill.
Yeah.
That's what I do. And I'm not surprised at all that it's good.
I'm just curious why it's Blood Angels.
Russell. What?
I'm just curious why it's Blood Angels. Probably because
there was nothing in there that made it Blood Angels.
Yeah.
Maybe it was red.
Yeah.
4th place is Gene Stealer Cult. And I'm just looking at this one. Yeah. Neophyte and Acolyte spam. Some Bridge Runners, some trucks. No aberrants. Okay. My third tournament of the weekend is in Valencia, Spain. 42 people played the Torneo Octubre, WTC GTS Valencia. And the winner was also Blood Angels. I don't understand. This is a Gladius task force. The rest of the tournaments, including this one, are small, so we're going to go into less detail on these. This is another apothecary fire discipline guy with aggressors. This list has Lamarties, so at least this list is being Blood Angels. Lieutenant with combi. I'm surprised there's no Sanguinar. The Sanguinar is like really dope for his points. He like flies in when somebody charges, and he's like, "Here I am!" Whap 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 whap. Aggressors. 10 Deathwing or 10 Death Company with Inferno pistols, a bunch of flame, and then another 5 with Inferno pistols, and then another 5 with Inferno pistols. Then he's got a Grav Cannon Dev unit, which is fascinating.
Okay.
let's see here. 1 unit of 6 Plasma Inceptors, 2 units of 3, 1 unit of 3, 1 unit of 3 Bolters, 2 units of 5 Infiltrators, a Librarian Dreadnought, which you never see, and a unit of Scouts.
The Libby Dreadnought jumps an infantry squad a turn.
Okay.
That's what it does now. Yeah.
All right. PCG Scorpion says he or she saw American Psycho in a theater, and they remember falling in love with Christian Bale. For me, that is actually Batman Begins, which is, I think, maybe my favorite superhero movie.
Ooh.
And Descendants. I think that the Christopher Nolan Batman movies were the first time for me that I saw superheroes handled seriously and well, like not Michael Keaton and Val Kilmer and George Clooney being Batman, and not campy like the TV show, and not Iron Man. This was like, this is dark stuff, and it's he's not a goody two shoes hero. This is dark, so let's be dark. And Christian Bale was great, and the action was great. And then the second one in that series is amazing, but the third one, of course, has its issues.
Yeah.
But the third one's got, no one cared who I was till I put on the mask, which I say every night when I put on my CPAP mask, and Stephanie has stopped laughing years ago. Okay. First place from the Torneo Octubre WTS is Alejandro Mancuso Serrano, and I'm better at these because I did take Spanish class. Did we just talk about his list already? We did. Sorry.
No, we haven't done either of the Eldars.
No, we just talked about Alejandro's list, though, didn't we?
The Blood Angels one, yes.
Because it looks exactly like the Blood Angels list I just talked about.
Okay.
So, second place is Francisco Pelon Lopez, who has Yunari. Yunari, Farseer, Spirit Seer, Incarn Yvrain. Pretty expected. 2 Night Spinners this time. If you're making an Eldar list, take 1 to 3 Night Spinners. That's the first thing you put on your list. Rangers, Shadow Specters, 10 Wraith Blades. Wraith Blades, everybody, they got axes. Watch out. That's dope. Unit of 5 Mandrakes, love that. A Ravager, that's fun. And then 3 units of Dark Lance Scourges. I am going to be honest, Billy, I'm surprised this list is good. This is a thing. This shows how good the Incarn, Night Spinners, and Eldar are, I guess. Yeah. I'm surprised. If they were Wraith Guard, Billy, I'd be like, oh yeah, this list makes total sense. But without that, I'm just going to say that Francisco's a baller. That's what I'm going to say.
That's fair.
Third place is Pedro. Pedro's last name is something Pedro-y. Let's see here. Alcaraz. And Pedro himself. Everything's falling apart on my computer here. There we go. Okay. Double Avatar, Autarch Wayleaper, Farseer Skyrunner with the Phoenix Gem. Farseer with the Phoenix Gem. Oh, that's the Skyrunner. No, it's just a normal Farseer. 2 Farseers on front, 1 with the Gem, a Spirit Seer, 2 Night Spinners, 2 units of Shroud Runners, Swooping Hawks, Wraithguard. He took the things from the Eldar Codex that he wanted.
Yep.
And finally, Jose Ibanez with Necrons. And these Necrons are Hexmark Destroyer, Lord, or a Khan, Necromancer, Techromancer, Transcendent Catan, 20 Necron Warriors, a Ghost Ark, which is always fun with those Necron Warriors, a Reanimator for the Necron Warriors, 2 units of Scarabs, a Spider, 2 units of Crypto Thralls, 5 Flayed Ones, a Locust Destroyer by himself, another Locust Destroyer chilling by himself, 2 Locust Heavy Destroyers, and then 1 Locust Heavy Destroyer by itself, and 10 Lich Guard. If I were making a Necron list, those are the things I would have presumed were good, other than Flayed Ones, which I don't feel like we see very often. So, your turn.
Okay. I have, in theory, 4 events, but most of them are very small, so we'll move with some pace. But first, the Queen City, also Oktoberfest 2023 in Springfield, Missouri. 40 players, 5 rounds, won by Chris Green, who, in deference to his last name, played Dark Angels in a Gladius. Chris brought Azrael, which is the only reason that it's a Dark Angels list. Also brought the Apothecary Biologist with his aggressor friends. Librarian and Phobos armor, the Lone Op Lieutenant, or just a regular Lieutenant, not a Lone Op Lieutenant. 5 Intercessors, which is, I believe, where Azrael goes. I need to make this bigger. 2 3s of Eliminators, 2 3s of Eradicators, a Lancer, 2 3s of Inceptors, 5 Infiltrators, a Land Raider Redeemer, I believe for the aggressors, 5 Scouts, and a Whirlwind. Similar to some comments above, this sort of just feels like a generic, these are the Space Marine units I like, plus, the aggressors and Steve. Yeah, it's I would want more from Dark Angels. Azrael is great because command points are great, but
no Deathwing Knights.
No Deathwing Knights.
What's the point then? Why be Dark Angels?
Because Azrael's cheaper than Calgar as a way to get an extra CP a turn.
Oh man, Calgar's so good.
Calgar's so good. Calgar also goes in those aggressors and does fun things with them. Anyway.
Yeah, he makes them beat the crap out of people.
Yep.
Calgar beats the crap out of people. I've played what is it now? 7 games of Calgar, and he hasn't died yet.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. Well, he's got a lot of wounds with him.
Yeah, it's true. A lot of wounds actually. It's like a 10-man aggressor unit.
And I think I think his buddies are 4 wounds, or are they 5? I think they're 4. So it's like it's like a 50 wound unit. It's ridiculous.
That's fair. All right, next we got Brent Simon, Eldari. He's having fun, so you can't. Wayleaper, Spirit Seer, Incarn, 3 Night Spinners, 15 Shadow Specters, 10 Swooping Hawks, 5 Spiders, and 10 Wraithguard. As I said,
man, I dig the 15 Shadow Specters so hard. I totally can see why that's fun. If I had them, I would play that way.
Yeah, they're my favorite.
The jumping back and forth and behind walls makes me really happy.
Yeah, and having a gun that actually does something, unlike the Hawks and the Spiders, in my opinion. Yeah. Third place, we have Gabriel Patino, Chaos Knights, 1 Rampager, 6 Brigands, 4 Carnivores, 2 3s and Nurglings. Chaos Knights, we haven't seen them do as well as some of their rules would allow, but they can certainly stat check you and be scary. Brian Priest in 4th place, also with Necrons, similar to what Colin has been saying previously. He brought Sazarus as his named lord, 2 regular lords, 2 Technomancers, the unkillable Catan, 2 20s of warriors, a reanimator, 2 3s of scarabs, 2 crypto thralls, which actually surprises me. I would think you'd want the 2 sets of crypto thralls in each warrior brick. 2 Doomsday Arcs, 1 Locust Heavy Destroyer, and 3 Scorpec Destroyers. So the same, Necrons are, here are my unkillable things in the middle. Here's my stuff around the edges that score me points.
Yep.
All right, we're dipping down into the smaller events now, and so I might not go into as much detail on lists because while GaelCon 2023 in Dublin, Ireland is in a wonderful city, and I'm sure it was a wonderful time, 29 players you can only draw so much from. That said, Pierce Condren won with Death Guard. We don't talk about Death Guard much. Let's talk about Death Guard some. 3 Bio.
We don't talk about Death Guard. I played against Death Guard at the RTT. I think Death Guard are really, really neat. A lot of what people are doing for Death Guard is they're taking Morty, and then they're taking 5 units of Plague Marines and 5 Rhinos. Or I think it's 6 and 6, and then the Foul Blight Spawn are really, really good with those units. Those units, the Rhinos are fairly durable because it's Death Guard. They hit, their guns are relatively decent if they get close to you because of the minus toughness and minus save auras that Death Guard give off. And then those Plague Marines get out and they shoot really well, and then they charge in and beat the crap out of you. It's just incredibly good. I think that it gets stat checked by anything that can kill Morty and open the Rhinos quickly. I think it's just a no-go for it. I think if it sets up and goes second across a really super efficient gun line, it can have a super problem. So it's not perfect, but I think Death Guard is better than people think it is.
Yep. The one other thing just to be aware of with Death Guard is know what FAQ your event is playing, whether they're doing WTC or GW, because WTC ruled that Morty works on the Plague Burst crawlers, and GW has ruled that Morty's stuff doesn't.
Yeah. I haven't played against the Plague Burst crawler version, so I don't know.
It just broadly whether Morty's aura works and works for you or doesn't work for you is an important thing to know. To Pierce's list, a lot of the things Colin talked about. 3 Biologist Putrefiers, 1 Foul Blight Spawn, 2 Lords of Contagion and Typhus. Pierce did 6 by 5.
Typhus with 20 Poxwalkers is really cool. He has that.
No Poxwalkers in here.
Oh, weird.
Just Typhus.
Typhus with the 20 Poxwalkers is a unit that I'm all about. I think it's really dope.
Typhus himself can just sort of drop down and put a bunch of mortal wounds on people that ignore targeting restrictions because it's not a shooting attack. 6 by 5 Plague Marines and 3 Rhinos as opposed to the 10s. 2 3s of Death Shroud, 3 PBCs, and 2 3s of Nurglings. So the non-Morty version. I think you can broadly pick 2 of Morty, bunch of Plague Marines, and 3 PBCs. I think the points just don't work to put all of that together. And Pierce chose Plague Marines and PBCs.
Yeah. And Death Shroud are not actually good compared to the other options. So
broadly. Colin Power.
I love Colin Power.
Yeah.
Good job, Colin Power.
Superior named Colin, sorry.
It is.
Yeah. Eldar.
Well, I would be ignorant to argue that.
Eldar, Justine Karn, no Avatar, 3 Night Spinners, bunch of mission playing stuff in the Wraithguard brick. Joseph Musgrave in 3rd place with World Eaters. Angron, Lord Invocatus, the other Pig Lord, 30 Jackals, a Rhino, and then 2 small regular 8 pounds and 663 of big 8 pounds. Runs at you, punches you hard. If you want to play in the fight phase, it's certainly a way to do it. And then 4th place, just an interesting list that we certainly don't see a lot of. Alec Cornelius brought Grey Knights, and not the Grey Knights that Team USA brought to WTC. This is Castellan, Crow, and Drago, 3 Librarians, 2 5s of Terminators, 2 5s of Paladins, a 5 and a 10 of a Purgation Squad, and a Calidus and an Eversor Assassin. I would imagine if you have never played against Grey Knights before, the first time would be confusing. My understanding is their damage output is somewhat lacking, but they can certainly jump around in mission play you to death. We have the Winchester 40K GT in Winchester, England. Only 28 players, which for an English GT, just sorry, guys, you're not bringing it these days. That said, there was some guard. This one is the fun list place, so we're going to spend some time on it. We have 10 minutes. Martin Cooper won with guard, but a weird guard. Doesn't start that weird. Gaunt's Ghosts, Lord Solar, Platoon Command Squad, Ursula, all relatively in line there. 50 Catechins, 20 Death Corps, and then a whole smattering of different tanks. A Chimera, a Basilisk, a Manticore, 2 Medusas, 10 Kazarkins, 5 Ratlings, a Doran, a Scout Scent, 5 Scions, the Master of the Ordnance, Officer of the Fleet, Astropath, thing that attaches to someone, and a Calidus Assassin.
Wow. I love that.
Yeah, you're going to love the third place list when we get it. But you're also, I teased this one earlier in the episode. Lewis Ballington balled out, sorry, Lewis, with Space Wolves in an Iron Storm. This is the Dreadnought Dance Party. Bjorn, Murderfang, 3 Tech Marines, 2 5s of Wolves, 5 Infiltrators, 3 Redemptors, 2 5s of Scouts, 3 Whirlwinds, and a Calidus Assassin. 5 Dreadnoughts, 3 Whirlwinds, and some mission playing stuff. Yeah.
Okay.
Bjorn
Okay.
and
That was
Murderfang are just
one
good
at a
age.
28-person tournament.
Yes.
There is no information from that list.
It is fun and it is not bad. Those are 2 things that you can draw.
Fair enough.
Speaking of things that you will find fun and not bad, Matthew Truel won 3rd place with Guard. Commissar, Death Corps Squad Commander, Gaunt's Ghost, Solar, and Ursula, a platoon command squad, 50 Catechins, 90 infantry in units of 20s and then a 10, a Basilisk, 10 Death Corps Horsies, and 2 Manticores. 140 guardsmen bodies.
Nice.
They're
cheap.
They are. And then just Graham Howard rounded it out with the double Accursed Commune CSM build.
Okay. And then I love that what you put for the last one. Go ahead.
Look, so the Carnage Con 40K Grand Tournament in Killington, Vermont, probably had a sizable portion of the overall population of Vermont with 21 players. Sorry, Vermont, you're tiny. But first and second place were both Votan. Tiny state, tiny army. It's what you're going to get. Thatcher Jacks, delightfully named, quite frankly, went 5-0. Iron Master, Champion Call, 10 Warriors, 2 Sagittars, 6 and 3 Thunderkin, 10 Hearthguard, 3 land tanks, yes, Hank tanks, or trains, land trains, 3 land trains, and 3 threes of bikes. I think that it's just useful to see what someone had success with Votan. And then Todd Plord.
This is great. I Googled largest city in Vermont.
Uh-huh.
And Google has responded Chittenden, that is 74 square miles.
Okay. Geographically, that's a large city.
Largest city, I think Google might have interpreted as geographical area.
I think so.
I think that it might have. And I don't know why Chittenden is what came up because I've never heard of that.
Neither have I. That's it. I haven't heard of many cities in Vermont.
Burlington is their largest city, and I can't find a population for it. So please continue. 45,000 people.
How many?
45,000 people.
Okay. I think my tiny suburb of San Francisco has more people than that. Anyway, Todd Plord, Votan, Iron Master, Grimnir, 2 Calls, 20 Warriors, 6 Sagittars, 20 Hearthguard, 3x3 bikes. That's all the news is fit to print.
All right. Any top Votan? We did talk about a Votan list earlier on that had 25 Terminators in it, Christian.
Yeah.
I think it went X and 1. I can't remember, but it's earlier in the show.
With getting to spray as many judgment tokens as it can, it flips the math so that Votan can actually do damage. They can MSU in vehicles and the bike, or MSU in transports and the bikes. They have good mission play. There's just we don't see that many Chaos Demons anymore. But other than that, you're seeing basically the whole meta out there. Except
Tyranids.
We didn't see Tyranids this week, but we've seen Tyranids in the past couple of weeks.
I think that Codex has problems. I think we should see a lot more Tyranids than we see right now. We're starting to see Space Marines, and we still aren't seeing Tyranids. I think I really don't like that. I think that the things that are good are really hard to play. I think that a lot of the tech is around Battle Shock, and I don't think people actually understand Battle Shock. I think it's a mechanic that most people have no because it hasn't been relevant in their games. So when you play against a Tyranid player and they start Battle Shocking all your stuff and using it for tech, that's complicated for them and for you.
That's fair.
I still think the Tyranids are better than their performance that they've had so far.
Mm-hmm.
What?
I was just saying all of those are fair. I have not played against NIDS yet, so I do not have any.
Yeah. I think the Nexus list that John won with is quite good. I just think it's really hard to play. And that's kind of what we're saying is that, yes, win percentage matters a lot. But I have never considered win percentage to be the same thing as what are the best armies.
Yeah.
Because I think that win percentage is actually a combination of the factors of how many people play this army, how easy it is to make this thing function, and do people have the models? Yeah. I think those are three things that really affect the meta. And for my money, I think that sometimes the most powerful thing isn't accessible. I actually think that Genestealer Cult was just as powerful as Eldar at the start of 10th, and no one talked about it because GSC was hard to play, and and because GSC is an expensive army that not that many people own, we simply didn't see it that much.
Yeah,
and that really affects the numbers. So if the only people playing Tyranids are the people that really love Tyranids because everybody's left, then we have to wait for that group of people, which is a smaller number of people working on it as an aggregate. We have to wait for them to come up with what works. And if the things that work are difficult to play, that removes a percentage of the Tyranid population from playing Tyranids at tournaments because most people don't want to go and get lambasted all tournament.
That's fair. And
that's my assessment of Tyranids thus far.
You are much more capable of giving it than I, having never played bugs in my entire life. But I think that sort of comment of accessibility, like that's why part of why Eldar was so good is that most top players have an Eldar army somewhere sitting around them. And it's why when Space Marines are good, the meta gets really unpleasant really fast because everyone has Marines.
Right. But I don't think that either, I don't think that either the Tyranid Codex or the Marine Codex is S tier.
No,
Marine Codex might end up being S tier, but it's not S tier right now.
I would just is Eldar even still S tier? Is there an S tier? I would argue that you think it is.
They won a ton of tournaments with the same army lists again today. I would say that from what we went through today, that Eldar is the top performing faction from today.
I would agree with that. I would just say that the gap, in my mind, S tier generally has a sizable gap above A. And
I think that's shrunk for sure.
Yeah, I think the gap between where Eldar is and everything else, I think you stand across from an Eldar army, and if all controlling, feel like there is the possibility of a win.
Okay.
And I think and that's part of why I like the meta right now. Anyone can bring an optimized army of the faction that they want and believe that they have a chance of having a game.
Yep. All right, everybody, that's us. As always, we said we didn't have enough content and we spoke for a full hour anyways. It just included some conversations about football and movies.
Yes.
If you're young and you don't know what any of the movies we said are,
watch them.
I apologize. Don't watch the Star Wars movies. They aren't actually good if you're starting from scratch. Sorry.
Ooh.
The original trilogy does not actually hold up. Sorry, everybody. We're being powered entirely by nostalgia. They are incredibly slow movies that do not have good special effects anymore.
Hard disagree on that last one. I actually think that the practical effects is what holds up the movies. But
Billy, you're old and you haven't tried to watch it. You haven't tried to watch it with teenage boys yet, Billy. I promise. I fell asleep during Empire Strikes Back. Those movies are paced incredibly slowly because they're from 40 years ago. I'm sorry. It is nostalgia that is powering you. I don't know what to tell you.
And Colin ending the week with a hot take. Come back.
It is a true take. Of all the takes I have, it is definitely one of them.
Yes.
I don't have anything else to say about that, so let's just wrap up the show, I guess.
Yep.
Thank you for coming to This Week in 40K this week. We really appreciate you all. We'll be back next Tuesday to talk about whatever's new that week, as well as some additional random conversation about movies, probably. And for this week, he's Billy, and I'm Colin, because someone has to be, and we'll be back at you soon. Have fun, roll some dice, have a good time. Don't be a dick. Bye, everybody.
Bye.